everyone. This is a very weird situation. Usually I am debating people, but today I am moderating a debate between the Apex Mind and Joe. The Apex Mind has been on this channel
Oh,
before. Hello, you two. Would you like to introduce yourself at all, either of you? If so, Joe first.
yeah, my name's Joe. I'm a vegan dude, um, longtime fan of Vegan Gays, and longtime shit poster. And here I am to do a little vegan debate.
As for you, Apex.
Hello everyone, this is the Apex Mind, and today I'm going to take the anti-vegan side of the argument. I'm going to be critical of the vegan stance. Personally, in my own life, I'm a vegetarian. I do not eat eggs either, just like milk and milk products due to religious reasons. And I'm also new to YouTube, and it's a great opportunity to talk to people who want to discuss deep issues of life and morality and all of that.
Absolutely. And as Apex says, he will be taking the anti vegan position. That's the affirmative on the proposition that animals are not worthy of analogous moral consideration to humans. So, what we're going to do, we're going to have two 5 minute opening statements. The Apex's mind is going to go first. So, if you're ready, Apex, we can start. Is that okay?
Yes, honestly, I had this whiteboard prepared, but because of the flip of the camera, I don't think you guys can read it. I'll still go through it just in case.
Okay, let's
Uh,
begin
so,
now.
yeah, so veganism and essentially the topic of this debate is that we shouldn't kill animals or exploit them, right? That is the ethic of veganism, and it's based on the claim or the philosophical claim that animal life is equivalent to human life. That is why the topic of the debate, which is both are analogous. Now, what is ethics? Ethics is the branch of philosophy which decides what is right and what is wrong. There are two types of thoughts in ethics, which is the moral relativist thought and the moral realism thought. So the moral relativist thought says that your ethics and your morality depends on the culture that you're born in, your immediate society, whatever majority of the people believe in, and morals can be subjective is essentially what it means to say. While on the other hand, moral realism states that something is either bad or something is either good. If there are X number of things that you can do, some of them are bad, some of them are good, and there is a rule book to that. My claim here, my assertion here is that veganism does not fall into moral relativism, because the moment veganism accepts that people can have subjective morality, they cannot assert that everyone should be a vegan and veganism is a ethic to be followed, rather just a choice. And if they claim that it is moral realism, it falls under moral realism, they'll have to prove that it is universal in nature and that it is logically consistent under ethics. And I do not believe it is ethically inconsistent. I believe it is ethically inconsistent. Why is that? The main thing about veganism is that it believes that animal life is greater than plant life, or animal life is greater than insect life, on the basis of a metric of sentience, right? If something is sentience, their suffering matters. If something is not sentient, it cannot suffer, because suffering is defined by the means of sentience. But what it does is that it introduces a graded moral consideration for life, biological life, that some life requires less moral consideration than other life. And if we follow that logic, therefore human life should also be either greater than animal life, or at least have a different moral consideration from animal life. And as such, the base claim that animal life and human life are equal, it evaporates. So this is my opening statement for this debate.
Okay, excellent. That was 2.5 minutes, so that's lovely. Just to double check, would you both be okay with a Q&A afterwards if we run it to an hour after Joe's five
Sure, sure.
minute? Yeah. Okay, cool. So
Sure.
if anyone wants to ask any questions, just know you can put them in as when the Q&A comes, or send them to me. I'll try and see them. But yeah, if you are ready, then Joe, we will begin now.
All right. So I'll just respond to a little bit of what you said there. Your claim, or I think you might have the claim wrong. The debate prop was animals are not worthy of analogous moral consideration to humans, which analogous kind of cashes out to trade adjusted rights. And we can go over that later. But So I would just take contention with the claim that you wrote there that animal life equals human life. I don't think any vegans claim that. There are differences between humans and non-humans.
Mhm.
And then also, during this debate, we aren't really going to go over like meta ethics and like what is truth, what is knowledge. I just want to kind of interview you, the Apex Mind, on what your ethics are. And I would assume that you are against exploiting and killing humans, so we will explore that.
Yes.
So that's my quick 1 minute response to your opening. Now let me go over my opening statement. Yeah, so I'll just tell a little story. When I went vegan almost 6 years ago, I was swayed away from carnism with a dialectical tool known as name the trait. The dialectic seeks to find a morally relevant trait or set of traits that exists in humans that, if removed, would account for the differential moral attitudes and behaviors towards non-human animals. The dialectic can also be used in the opposite way. Perhaps there is a trait or set of traits present in non-human animals that, if added to the human, would account for this difference. There are two possible worlds in which I live. World 1, I'm a vegan. World 2, I am a carnist, which is a non-vegan. I realize that veganism is a non-action, as in a vegan simply chooses to do fewer things than a carnist. Enslavement, exploitation, and ultimately stabbing and or gassing sentient beings to death, or in the case of India, starvation, slow death from digestion of plastics, or being attacked by people or other animals with a deadly result. To do these actions, one must ethically justify the actions. Humans and non-human animals do have many differences, but they also share many traits. When I was confronted with this dialectic, I could not find a morally significant trait that could be removed from humans, which would account for the differential in my behavior. So since I could not find this trait or set of traits, I went vegan. The burden of proof is on the non-vegan to justify their asymmetrical attitude and behavior towards non-human animals. Let me reason by analogy. And to be clear, this is an analogy. I am not making an equivalence. There is a group of people who wish to mine precious metals and resources on an island. The island is inhabited by a group of people, and the mining operation would entail killing these people. There is another island that is uninhabited. The island is just a little bit further away, but it has the exact same precious metals and materials which the group wishes to extract. The group of people who oppose the colonialism see no reason to choose the island with the inhabitants. The opposition does not need to justify why not to invade these people and extract the minerals. They see it as needlessly inhumane, on its face, and probably cruel, especially with the fact that there is another island with no people or even animals living on it. The group taking the affirmative needs to provide a justification for this violence. This is similar to the vegan debate. The vegan is simply, to put it blunt, not stabbing. The one whose actions entail stabbing will need to provide the justification. To justify these acts, the non-vegan must provide a trait or set of traits which can be removed from humans, which would justify this treatment. So to end my opening statement, I ask you, what is the morally relevant difference between humans and non-humans which justifies you to behave differently towards these non-human animals? What is the difference which accounts for enslavement, forcible impregnation, separation of mothers from children, exploitation, and eventual stabbing to death or starvation?
Are you finished?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. So that was 4 minutes. Lovely. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have minimal participation. I obviously am a vegan, so I'm going to be biased here, but I'm taking the position of a mod, so I'm going to try my very best to be non-partisan. So minimal participation. If it's not on track or anything like that, or it feels like I need to act as a mod, I shall. But other than that, I feel like we should just get into open debate if you two are both happy with this. Okay.
Sounds great.
Begin.
Yeah, so I guess, do you have an answer to the dialectical question? What is the morally relevant difference for the asymmetrical attitude?
Human beings can qualify as moral agents, animals cannot qualify as moral agents, which then makes it so that morality is a consideration for and by humans, and therefore does not apply to any other species.
Okay, so the trait you named is moral. Sorry, can you say that again? Moral agent.
So moral agency will be the trait.
Okay, so
whether or not morals can be applied to them, and whether or not they can think and enact on morals.
if I find a human who cannot have moral agency, say for instance a child, an elderly person with dementia, or possibly a human with cognitive impairment, or even maybe a human who previously had moral agency but was in an accident. Say they were in a car accident and they hit their head really hard and they lost the ability to have moral agency. They got like brain damage, part of their brain got hurt, and they no longer have moral agency. But we still take care of them. They're, you know, so would it be okay to stab them if they don't have moral
Moral
agency?
moral agency is twofold. The first part of moral agency is to be able to act on morals, and the second part of moral agency would be that you come under the consideration of morals. All ethics, all schools of thoughts that are ethics, whether it is consequentialism, whether it is deontologicalism, or whether it is even virtue ethics, are human centric, for and by humans. And as such, at the very least, even I think the only argument you can make, even with someone with dementia, right, even if they do not know anything, they still have a sense of right and wrong. That can be challenged for children, right? That maybe children, let's say 6 months old, do not have a so-called decision on what is moral and what is immoral. But even then, they will still be taken into the consideration of human beings, because ethics, by its very nature, is anthropomorphic.
Okay,
So
so
they
the
have at least the
trait
second part of moral agency.
is the trait a conjunction or an inclusive disjunct of able to have a sense of right or wrong and have it applied to them, or is it an and or?
So it's a and or.
Okay, so if I find a human who does not have a sense of right or wrong, we can't stab them because it's or they also have morals applied to them.
Uh, they will have morals applied to them, but they will not be able to use morals, because it's an and or situation. Even if one of the traits qualify, then at
Yeah.
that point you have to take them into consideration.
Yeah, so we remove the trait that they have the sense of right or wrong, and we still can't stab them, correct? Because like a 6-month-old child, we're not going to stab them. And also like an
Yeah.
elderly person with dementia, we won't stab them because they don't have a sense
Yes.
of right or wrong.
Yes. Active moral agency might not be necessary, but they are still taken into passive moral agency of sorts, because again, they once had it, they're going to have it, and at the very least, ethics are something which applies on like human beings.
Okay, so yeah, so like this elderly person with dementia, like my grandma who recently passed away, she didn't know what day it was. She didn't know who my mom was anymore. She didn't know what was right or wrong. She was just kind of like chilling, vibing, getting taken care of in the old folks' home. You would say it's still wrong to stab her to death for a cheeseburger because we just like as a culture applied these ethics to her.
Yeah, because when ethics were made, like across all cultures and in even philosophy, ethics are for and by humans. So we have to take into consideration our species. That is the, what do you call it, the minimum point of ethics, if that makes sense.
Okay, so let's just take that other trait away. Let's say I find a group of humans, say like on an island, and they don't. That culture does not really value other humans. They're a cannibalistic tribe. Would you find their actions immoral if they exploit and kill humans?
If
Or would you want to intervene and like stop them from
didn't
killing
they?
humans?
Wait a second, what happened?
Yeah, your
Just
video
give me
kind of dropped out there.
let me just. Okay, I'm back. So no, even then, by the virtue of being the same species, they are still taking into consideration, right? Because even Aristotle, when he was going on about virtue ethics, he defined ethics or his virtue ethics as about human prosperity or human, what do you call, overall well-being. So humanity is something which is central to ethics, to its origin and to its effect.
Just that's interesting, but like for you personally, Apex, if you found this island of like cannibals and they were exploiting and killing humans and it was part of their culture that this is just fine to do, there's like a subset of humans within their culture that are lesser, maybe they're a different skin color or something. Would you want to intervene with them and like stop them from killing these humans, or would you just say that's perfectly fine, that's their culture, they're farming humans, and I'll just let them go about it. But that's not for me to say. Or would you personally find issue with that they're killing humans?
What humans are they killing? The one who also do not have any form of moral agency and who
Yeah,
are from
yeah,
the same island, or people from outside?
exactly. This island has two sets of people. There's like a higher class, call them like the royalty or whatever, and then there's like a lower class. This lower class, they have like the same cognition of like a pig or a cow, and they're not very smart, but hypothetically, we could take care of them in our society in the Western world or even Eastern world, like in India. We could take them under
Would
our care and give them a good life.
would you
But
consider them then, like on the, let's say, sophistication, or in the terms of intelligence, they are different enough from us for us to think of them as non-human?
no, they're still human. So it would be like a mentally disabled person or a child, like a 2-year old or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Mm-hmm.
They look
The
they
thing.
have human DNA. They look exactly like us. They are us. They're just like a different skin color.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, they're just not very smart. They were like bred that way.
Mhm.
And this
If they
higher
are human
class,
beings, then ethics would
yeah,
apply
this
to
this,
them, and
this
as
higher
such,
class
you'll
on
have to.
this island culture, they just exploit and kill them because they can. They have power over them, and they don't have the
Mhm.
cognition, and their culture dictates that this is morally permissible.
Yeah, I will have to intervene simply for the fact that they are also human beings, right? For example, animals often kill each other. Animal often hunt each other. They live in savannas where all sorts of murder and genocide happen. I do not go there to intervene. I do not think it is immoral because, again, they are not moral agents and they do not come under the anthropomorphic understanding of ethics.
Okay, so it seems like we might have run into a contradiction there because you said it was the case that it was having moral agency and or having morals applied to them. And in this
Morals
case,
can be applied to them if they're human beings.
yeah, in
That's the
this
thing.
case, yeah, in this case, in this culture, they don't really care about that. And you would intervene, Apex. You would find that problematic.
No. Uh, in whether even within this culture, if they do not find, let's say, murder to be wrong, right? But virtue ethics would dictate that they are a human being, and therefore b, they are valuable for human flourishing or human fulfillment, and as such, I will have to take their suffering and their well-being into account as well,
Okay, so you follow virtue
as long
ethics.
as you qualify.
That's what.
I'm just
No, I'm just
no,
talking to
I'm
you though,
saying.
not a virtue ethicist. Like, are you a virtue ethicist?
No, no. I'm simply saying, if whatever stance I have, it fails under any of the ethics, whether it is like no, and not any of the ethics. If you have to, uh, my stance will be wrong in the case that it becomes inconsistent within, yeah, any of the ethical standards, whether it is consequentialism, deontologicalism, or no, no, I'm not being very clear. Just give me a second. But okay, for the purposes of this, let's say, debate, let's go with virtue ethics. Personally, my set of ethics is derived from Vedanta, so the Vedic philosophy.
Okay, so for you personally, you would find it wrong to kill for these people to be killing these humans, correct?
No, not necessarily. I mean, if they are segregated, if that is their own society, which is
Yeah, on their society,
in
like,
no
would
way
you
impactful,
you
and if
don't
they
you
are
don't find any issue
like,
with that? Just you personally, yeah. We're not talking like meta ethics here. You can go into deontology, whatever, different time. But just you personally, like, if this island existed, you would just be like, that's chill. They can do that. They can just kill these humans and make cheeseburgers out of them. I don't really mind.
so. So let me just get this clear. They're like on the basis of intelligence, they, or like even sentience, they're on the level of your average animal rather than the average human being, right?
Yeah, like a 2-year-old child. Let's just use that. Like 2-year-old, they don't know right from wrong. Sometimes they might hit each other by accident because they're like 2-year-olds, but you know, we can take care of them. We can
So
feed
I,
them, give them a good life. They're happy. They have subjective
so
experience, emotions.
and it's a completely segregated society, and it's in no way, shape, or form impacting any of the rest of the world, right?
Yeah, it's an island. Let's make up a number. There's like 500,000 people living there. and 400,000 of them are these subhumans, we can call them. That might be a triggering word, but yeah, there's subhumans, and then there's the humans, but they all have human DNA. They were bred this way, and they look just like us. And just for sake of hypothetical, just to make it even like easier to distinguish, like the subhumans are white, and then like the people in charge are brown skinned or something. So like all the white people
It
are,
doesn't matter.
yeah,
The race
whatever.
thing is
You
not
can
relevant to this.
make up more of the story, but yeah. And it's been this way for
Anything.
thousands of
Just
years, and yeah, they're just like they have the intelligence of like a 2-year-old child. Perfectly
they have
happy.
their
They
own.
play, they get along. But like when they're like a few years old, we just like slit their throats and turn them into cheeseburgers. Well, not we, the higher class people.
They
Yeah.
and those higher class
Yeah.
people, they
Yeah,
are
sorry.
also the same as them.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
the
so
same.
it's
They're just
a
like bred into existence as like lower subhuman. They just have less
it
intelligence.
doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It doesn't matter if it's the masters or if it's the lower class. Either way, they are the same intelligence, and everything else is aligned, except for the position that they occupy in society.
No, the position they occupy in society is different because of their cognitive difference. Like the
So
2-year-old, the people with the 2-year-old cognition could never hold power in society because
okay,
they have like,
so the upper class in that particular society is regular human beings.
yep, regular as in me or you. We can have a philosophical talk. We can get on video call and figure out how to set up a microphone. And yeah, and then the lower class would be like a 2-year-old child, but they're still like adult sized. They just have like the brain of a 2-year-old, and it's been this way for thousands and thousands of years. Would you take issue with them being exploited? The females are milked. They take milk from the human females. They unfortunately impregnate them, take their babies away. And then if they're a male baby, they just like chop their heads off. Would you take issue with this culture, or would you just be like, meh?
I might, but I will, but not as much as if it was a regular society in which this was happening with regular human beings. Does that make sense?
So you do take issue. And do you
I do
think
take issue, but it's not to the extent of a regular society's. If I'll the amount of issue I'll take with a regular society.
so? You do take issue. So there is still seemingly like some asymmetry between humans,
Yeah.
even if they're trait equalized to an animal and animals. So what is that trait?
Species.
Even if it's in this like isolated society, you still take issue with it. What is this trait differential?
It's proximity to what I am. If that makes sense.
Is it like
There
a
is a reason.
spatial proximity,
there
or
is-
just like knowledge of it? Or if the island's like 1,000 miles away,
How
is it more unethical?
How
Is that what you're getting at?
how similar of a being they are to me, if that makes sense, because empathy is to be able to feel something, mirror something that someone else feels, right? So you are able to mirror their emotions, you have to understand what they are. So uh, the more similar something is to me, the more moral consideration or weightage I have, or even in proximity relationships. For example, if let's say someone is my wife, say someone is my child, I will put a higher moral consideration on their life rather than the life of a stranger. I'll put an even lesser moral consideration on the life of someone who, let's say, is a sociopath. Right. And similarly, I will put even less moral consideration on a set of people who are, for all intents and purposes, as you said, subhuman. So it will depend on, it will be a moral gradient, right? I am not saying that animals do not deserve any sort of consideration. The point is, the consideration is below that of human beings. There is a cutoff of sorts, or at least there is a gradient, right? It's a spectrum of moral consideration. The closer that you are to one end, the more moral consideration you'll get.
I completely agree with everything you said there. And I also agree that I would give my wife and children higher moral consideration than a stranger, especially a stranger on the other side of the world. But I don't think that justifies cutting that stranger's head off. And that's what I'm getting at. There is a gradient down to animals, and I don't disagree with you there at all. It's just I can't find a morally significant difference between humans and non-human animals that are sentient that justifies exploiting and then cutting their heads off.
So you do agree that there is like a difference, right?
Oh yeah, for
There
sure.
do exist differences, whether it's in intelligence, whether it is in species, whether it is
Hmm.
in how they form societies, whatever their particular behaviors are, there is a difference. So the question and hand, or the disagreement essentially between vegans and non-vegans at that point will be that whether the difference in the moral gradient is enough to justify eating, exploiting, and killing animals. Right? That is the question, rather than if there is a difference at all.
Yep, exactly. And I'm just asking, like, what exactly is that difference? That
I told you, right? See, how you perceive that degree of difference is again very well dependent on the culture that you're born in, right? All the, or the, what do you call, norms that you follow. That is the reason different people have different opinions on, let's say, different forms of media, right? Someone can find a show 10 out of 10, someone else can find that 3 out of 10. These are dependent on your own psychology, these are dependent on your own culture, these are dependent on how you value certain moral and ethical traits. If someone is, for example, a very hardline follower of virtue ethics, that person will say that if the purpose, or if the greatest moral virtue is to increase, let's say, human well-being, overall human flourishing, then I will kill millions and millions of rats and animals to ensure that we have the right pharmaceutical medicines so that cancer can be treated one day. And we do that.
okay, yeah. So I heard culture dictates your ethics, and you kind of made an analogy to like a TV show or a movie being like a 10 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10. And then you brought up
If you
like
go,
cancer
yeah.
treatment as like a justification.
So,
Let's just stick to
sure.
food, like taste pleasure. Like we can go into like a like animal testing debate another time because that's more of like a niche gray area, but and that's going to be more of an empirical debate as well. But yeah, just kind of like
Mm,
to justify killing, cutting their head off for food purposes, for clothing purposes, for even entertainment. Sometimes there's like bullfighting and dogfighting and stuff. Vegans are against that as well. So, what is the morally relevant difference between humans and non humans which would justify just simply taste pleasure? Cutting their head off and then cutting them up and turning them into cheeseburgers.
I get that, but I just want to clear something up. So, since taste and pleasure is again like a very narrow scope for not exploiting and killing animals, that's a big deal. So, is it, let's say, a hardline rule that we follow that we should not kill or exploit animals at all? Or is it dependent on context, and is it dependent on what we can gain and lose from it?
Yeah, I would say it is dependent on context. And vegans, like, first and foremost, the behavior that we exhibit day to day is eating. Most people do it 3 times a day. So it's usually the biggest contention of the debate is like, what food do we choose? And vegans just choose food at the grocery store or restaurant that doesn't entail stabbing. And so that's
Right.
usually the context of a vegan debate is, and then the second one is like clothing. So like I don't wear leather. Vegans typically don't wear leather or like wool and that sort of stuff. So you can get into like, is there a threshold that would be met that makes it ethically justifiable to do other actions to animals, such as like self-defense? There might be some countervailing measures which, so like for instance, if a human attacks me and I'm gonna defend myself and attack the human. Same thing with an animal. Like if a bear attacks me, I'll shoot the bear. Or like if a human's attacking my child, I might end up killing the human. So those are like counterfactuals that would come up where you would end up, killing this being. But for the scope of the discussion with veganism, it's usually just like a non-action. Like I'm not stabbing for
Mm-hmm.
food. I am not stabbing for leather, that sort of thing.
Would
So
you,
in this discussion, like,
would you,
go ahead.
sorry. No, no, no. So you just complete what you were saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just for the scope of like most vegan discussions, we're just focusing on like food and clothing and entertainment, like that sort of stuff, because that is
Hmm.
like the biggest thing that's happening right now. Most of the victims right now are for food purposes. And Yeah, so that's usually the topic. If you want to go into like more niche gray areas, we could probably do that another time. But yeah, I think
I
like
get that. I get that.
yeah.
Uh, the reason I was like talking about testing, for example, right, is for even you as a vegan, and I'm only assuming, if I am wrong, you can correct me, that if let's say you had to sacrifice 100 mice or like thing for a test, you will like for let's say a grade A pharmaceutical that is going to revolutionize human beings. At that moment, you're going to weigh the consequences, right? And you're going to find that it's okay to do that, perhaps, but it's the same thing is not going to be the case when human beings are, let's say, exploited, or let's say they are tested and killed upon in order to create said pharmaceutical. Then you'll have more of consideration. As such, why is it a contentious or like a difficult thing to accept that some people, or the majority of the people in the world, they believe that killing and eating animals is morally justifiable because they place less of a value in animal lives than someone else does who is, let's say, vegan, because it's both of those things are quite similar, right? In one case, because vegans often point out at the hypocrisy of people, that you wouldn't kill your fellow man, you are not going to kill your neighbor and make him into a ham sandwich and eat it, yet you're going to do that to a poor cow, for example. If that is the case, why couldn't I use the example of lab testing to show that in certain situations, people, if in certain situations even vegans believe that there is a decent enough difference between the species, someone else can just have an opinion that is more extreme. Someone else can just believe that that distinction between human beings and animals is such that I can even eat them.
Yeah, so I'll kind of answer your points there. For the testing example, if the hypothetical were true that you kill 100 mice and it saves all of humanity, I would I would definitely kill the 100 mice in that hypothetical. But if you go into the empirics of it, like lab testing and stuff for animals generally doesn't cross over very well to human outcomes, and that's just a whole empirical debate. That's a separate discussion entirely. So I think it was something like upwards of like 90% of data from animal testing is just like trash and it doesn't go into human health outcomes. In my opinion, would be to just use humans as tests, consenting humans for pharmaceuticals and stuff. That would be my take. And the empiricals usually cash out that way, that there's just not very good like animal data is usually just trash for human health outcomes. It's like one of the lowest on the scientific hierarchy of evidence because we're not rats. So that's my take on that. And yes, I would. If you give me the trolley problem, 100 mice or all of humanity, 100 mice, yeah, obviously. And then I would find it not analogous with food because in my example in my opening statement, think of the two islands. One of them has victims and one of them doesn't. For vegan, you can either have your plate full of victims or your plate not full of victims. So you have like kind of two paths you can go down, vegan or non-vegan. The vegan one doesn't entail throats being slit, and the non-vegan one entails throats being slit just for your plate of food.
Right. Since you already considered on the fact that there is a gradient of moral consideration, therefore you yourself already believe that there is a separatable moral distinction between animals and human beings, correct?
Yeah, of course. And if you go back to that testing one, like the 100 mice, if you gave me 100 trait equalized humans, I would kill the 100 humans as well to save all of humanity. So that,
Ah,
like in that
yeah,
hypothetical,
I
I would,
mean,
yeah, I'm consistent there.
sure. The reason I confirmed the gradient thing again was to show that you and almost everyone inherently does have the moral gradient thing, right? Some people have more moral consideration than, let's say, animals, and the so when you ask of me, give me the specific trait or xyz thing which separates animals from human beings, I am going to ask you what is your reason for giving them different gradients, because you also inherently believe in some trait or some distinction. That is the reason you're saying an adult human being has more of a moral consideration than an adult pig, right? It is something which is inherently within you, within everyone, and it is inherently assumed. As such, uh, the only question is what is or the only point of contention or debate is what is that separatability gap, right? How big is that gap? There is a gap, everyone agrees. There is a trade difference, everyone agrees inherently. But how much can we justify by that is the question.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be a gap. There's going to be differences, but I just can't find a justification to exploit and slit throats. And
Why?
I would need a trait that is just like that can justify that. And maybe just to like let me share my screen. Let me draw something. Are you okay with that?
Sure.
Okay, so I don't have a whiteboard, but I have MS Paint. Can you see that, or can you see my stream?
I have to click on watch stream. Okay.
Okay, you got it. Okay. So,
Yeah, I can see it now.
okay, I'm going to draw a little Venn diagram. So on one side, we have a circle. This is going to be all the traits that encompass a human.
Mhm.
And then I'm going to copy this. And let's say this is all the traits that encompass a cow. So let me just pull up some Google images. Okay, so on this side, we have a cow.
Mhm.
And over here, let me find a picture of a human. Okay. Over here, we have a human.
Mhm.
And we agree that there are different traits that humans have and cows have, but there are similar traits as well. Some similar traits might be, we're both mammals. We both are on planet Earth. We both have females which produce offspring and create milk. So these are similar traits. This set of traits
Right.
here is all human traits. This set is all cow traits. There are some similarities. And what I'm asking for is like, if you remove all of the traits over here in this red area, if you remove all of these, it would then seem justifiable to slit throats here, right? Because all of these are removed and you're just left with what cows have. So my question is like, what traits in this red area can you remove from humans to then justify slitting their throats?
Is it a question of types and attributable, like what traits, or is it a question of how many traits? Right? Maybe there is a threshold.
Yeah.
Maybe the less the circles meet, the less of a consideration that you have.
Yeah, so like just for example, let's use like the red as like removal. So let's say like I remove hands. Okay, the human no longer has hands. And then the human, let's change their foot to hooves. Now the human's feet are hooves. So now they're like in here. How many traits can you remove, and what are those traits to the point where you can slit their throat? Does that make sense?
Right. Can I also draw something? Which can you make a smaller intersection Venn diagram, like which is barely coming together, if that makes sense. Like it is barely
I'll have to do
overlapping.
some. I'd have to draw another one. Let me make this bigger over here.
Just to let you know, it has been half an hour, and if you want to do an hour total of open discussion and then a Q&A, that you've got half an hour left to wrap up the conversation. If you feel like you haven't notably hashed out your view, then we can possibly continue if we're all in agreement. But yeah, just let you know, 30 minutes left.
I think we have honed in on the major point of contention, which is like the gradient.
Yeah, I'm just looking for the justification for slitting throats over here. We don't
Sure.
slit throats over
So
here, and there must be something true of these humans that you can remove to then
right.
justify.
I get that.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying by that example is that it's not a matter of the number of traits. It's a matter of how much it overlaps with humanity, right? If it so it's the amount of traits rather than a particular sort of trait, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and what are those traits?
No, it doesn't matter whatever those traits are, as long as a certain threshold isn't crossed, we are going to be fine with eating them. for example, monkeys are routinely killed and eaten by people in certain tribes in Africa, right? Even though monkeys are very close to humanity, at least in terms of like species, they are cousins. So yet we do that. That is there has to be like a threshold difference.
Let's go about it a
And
different
that
way.
I think
So let's.
there is also, I think proximity
Oh,
and
no.
relationships is probably something which is
We good?
closest. For example, people will often save their pet over, let's say, someone else,
Let's go about it a
a
different
human
way.
being.
So let's say it looks like this, and you would find it okay to
I'm
eat
so
this
sorry to
being, right?
interrupt. Are you lagging for anyone, or is my internet B12 deficient?
Yeah, the Apex mind is a little glitch.
You're
His is a
glitchy
little
as
glitchy.
well. You're glitchy as well.
Uh,
Do I?
Mine is fine for both of
I'm
you.
being told by my internet that I have like excellent connection, so maybe
Let
it'll.
me do my
Where does
speed
it show
test.
that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's saying excellent connection for me. It might be gaslighting me.
Here's my receipts. Here's my speed. Gigabit down and 800 up.
Okay, Apex, can you speak again for?
Yeah, hello, let me check.
Okay.
Uh,
Can
I
you
think
mine
we're
can you
is
see
okay
my
now.
stream still?
I think we're okay. So sorry.
Okay.
Do continue. I'll let you know if it does it again. Sorry about that.
Okay. Yeah. So
15.
let's go about this a different way. So I colored this side of the Venn diagram all red. You would agree then that this being is okay to eat now or exploit ethically because all the traits are removed.
I would say if the intersection is made noticeably smaller, then.
Okay, let's do it here. So this is
Right.
human, this is cow. I removed all this red. It's okay to eat them?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, so let's just add back a trait. I'm gonna make
I
it
get
white.
it's the ship of thesaurus one, right? Like where what makes a ship? How many things can you remove from a ship? It's a logical paradox.
Maybe,
It's like
yeah, kind of maybe, but yeah. So like,
so
let's
it
say,
works either way. Whether it works in this case, so it doesn't matter because it's a thing that works in anything.
yeah, that's fine. So let's just say I add back human fingernails over here. Can I still eat them?
Again, I already responded to that. It's it's not a matter of traits even, right? It's a matter of how much it overlaps with what you recognize as being human, if that makes sense. People anthropomorphize their animals, right? They give their animals name, they give their animals emotions, that oh, the tail is wagging, that means he's happy. How do you know the dog is happy or not? How do you know dogs have the understanding of happiness, or their brains can feel it the same way that we do? You're not in the dog's brain, yet you give them human like attributes. In order to empathize with anything, you have to give it human like attributes, and as such, moral consideration is inherently a human anthropocentric trait, right? Either you are human, or you can be empathized or reflected by a human being so that they can trick themselves to believe you're human. That is the case with pets. That is the case with certain species of animals. That is why dogs are people, it's the same people who are killing animals, who are killing buffaloes, who are hunting other animals. They are okay with having a dog on their side, and they will be very frustrated with you that why are you when you say that, why are you not killing that dog? Because they have anthropomorphized the dog. To them, he's a buddy, he's a partner, he's a part of the family, so they're giving it human traits. That is the thing. So moral consideration at the end of the day goes back to how much it resembles humanity, whether it resembles it literally, or whether it resembles in a relationship sort of manner. It's proximity to self. It is how much you can empathize with it.
I think we went over this already with the
Salad?
island hypothetical, and you took contention with the 2-year-old minded people. We don't know if they have
because-
happiness.
yeah.
Yeah. So what's the difference there? We
Because
already
you're saying that they're by DNA human beings, so I know that they have certain capacities which are similar
so
to mine, right?
is it
You can
DNA?
anthropomorphize things that you are already human.
Is
Does
it
that
DNA?
make sense? How
Is
much you
that-
can
Is
No,
that
no,
the trait then?
it's
Just
uh,
to dial
there
in,
is
you
a
said DNA. Is that the trait? Human
no,
DNA?
it's it's twofold, right? Mechanistically, maybe you can draw the boundary at species, and very, if I have to be very precise, it's a boundary to how close or how similar you feel things are to yourself,
Yeah, so for you
right?
personally, like let's just use the DNA. Like
No,
would you be okay with
that's
would
just that's true for every human being,
yeah,
whether
yeah,
it's
it's just realistically, like the closest species to us I think is like bonobos or chimpanzees. Would you be ethically okay with cutting their heads off for and milking them?
depends on what am I gaining
Yeah,
from it.
yeah, you're gaining milk. You exploit bonobo monkeys and impregnate them and take their milk. Would that be ethically problematic for you?
If let's say that milk helps, for example, my community to go from a
Yeah, yeah.
protein
You have like a
deficient
whole
community
farm. Yeah, you have
to
a whole farm of these chimpanzees or bonobos, whatever. They're farmed and you forcibly impregnate them with metal rods, put semen up in there, take their babies away, chop their heads off, and then milk them. And then the milk provides nourishment for your community. Is that ethically permissible? Just like chimpanzees?
depending on the kind of person I am, it will depend on how much
The
of a nutrition
person,
they are
depending on the
providing.
person that you
It will
are.
vary.
I'm talking. Yeah,
It
I'm
will
talking to
vary.
you. Just
It
talking to you. Just you, Apex. Are you
okay
okay with
if
that?
okay, if my community otherwise is going to be protein deficient to the point that we are going to develop issues related to health and we are
No,
going
it's
to reduce
optional.
our lifespan, then it's
It's an
fine.
optional product. It's an optional product. Just like today, how milk is optional.
Not necessarily, not for everyone.
It's optional.
It's a very first world country centric view.
Well, yeah, let's just, for the sake of argument, it's for an optional product for milk. Because you can either be vegan or drink cow's milk. You could either be vegan in this hypothetical or drink chimpanzee milk. Is it ethically permissible on your view to
If
enslave,
I
exploit, and eventually
if
kill
if
chimpanzees for their milk?
if let's say I
Just a
have
yes or
a
no would be
supplement
good. Yeah,
ready,
yeah, just a yes or no would be good
which is
for you.
it is if I already have everything that I need, all the needs are met, and it is not going to cause me any noticeable gain, of course not.
Okay,
But if
so
it is going to cause me a noticeable gain, probably.
so there is a difference. So it's not human DNA. So now you have an issue with chimpanzees being milked, correct?
I have an I have an issue. No, I do give them moral consideration. I just give them less moral consideration than my health or my community's health.
Yeah, so for an optional product, you would find it unethical to exploit and kill chimpanzees, correct?
Less ethical than not killing them.
Yeah, yeah. You have two worlds. One, you exploit and kill chimpanzees. The other world, you don't. You would choose the world where you don't exploit and kill chimpanzees, correct?
Yes, if I do not gain anything from it, no.
Well, you would gain pleasure from it, seemingly like taste pleasure. You can make like chimp cheese, chimp milk.
That's I mean, if I already have see enjoyment for even let's say uh, species which is as intelligent as the monkeys are, as sentient as they are, probably not enjoyment. But if I gain, let's say, 5 years to my health or and well-being, or let's say I make it so that people in my community live 5 extra years, so definitely I will
Yeah,
exploit and whatever
in
them.
this hypothetical, both worlds you get the same health outcomes for your community and for yourself. It's strictly just an optional product, but you would actually,
Yeah,
it's just like, it might taste a little bit better than the vegan cheese, but the
no, no,
chimpanzee
no.
cheese is like super yummy. Would
Nah.
that
So
wouldn't
in that,
justify it?
me personally, then I will not kill them.
Okay, so then there must be some difference. Let's change the Venn diagrams then. Shit. So I'm gonna take the human out over here. Let me just delete all of this so it's not confusing. And
You can like
we're gonna
draw a
get a
line.
Yeah, we're gonna get a chimpanzee up now. Since here we go, beautiful picture. So over here we have the chimpanzee traits, and over here we have the cow traits. So I will ask you, name the trait dialectic. What is true of the cows that, if made true of these chimpanzees, would make it okay to exploit and eventually kill them for milk?
Less ability for them to be anthropomorphized. Like
Oh,
chimpanzees,
so
you
that it's like
can.
it's an aesthetic. It just looks aesthetic. Then it's like the way they look.
It's not the way they look. It's how mm, how easy it is for me to imagine them as myself. Because in empathy, that is what you do, right? You imagine someone as yourself. So
Okay, so
how easy it is for you to empathize.
let's just say
Empathy
you
drive, if that
okay,
makes
just
sense.
in your mind right now, answer this for me. If you woke up tomorrow morning and you no longer had the ability to empathize with chimpanzees, would you find it ethically permissible right now to slit their throats? You just take away
Will I
that
find it
like
tomorrow?
feeling of empathy.
After
The
I after I lose empathy, right?
yeah. But right now in your
Ah,
current
yeah.
mind, would you take issue with that?
I will
Future
take
hypothetical
issue.
future
Yeah.
apex has
I
lost the ability to feel empathy. Would you take
I
issue with
will
it right now that you would want to slit their throat?
I will take issue up to the point that I do possess empathy. The moment I stop possessing any form of empathy, I will stop taking issue.
Okay, so if there's like a sociopath who has no empathy, you have no issue with them
Right.
slitting throats of like chimpanzees?
So I have issue with them because I am empathizing with the chimpanzee, right?
So you do
The
take issue with
sociopath
it.
himself.
I'm
I
talking like tomorrow you wake up and you wake up as a sociopath. Right now you would take issue
right.
with future apex being okay with slitting their throats,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Because right now I am able to empathize. Right, your understand this. Ethics or moral considerations are based on your ability to empathize. As long as you have that ability to empathize, you're able to put them into consideration. The moment you lose it, it stops happening. So the serial killer is the one who is not going to be able to empathize and hence will go and kill the monkey. The future apex is the one who is not able to who is not able to empathize and will kill the monkey. The current apex that I am, who is able to empathize, I am taking consideration with that future apex simply for the fact that I can right now feel empathy. The
And
person who
you
is
have
deciding on the
no
ethics, they should be
and
able
just
to
to
be
make
able
it
to
clear, you don't
empathize.
have empathy for the cow side.
I have
Current
less
apex.
empathy for the cow side, less
Enough
empathy
less
as compared to
empathy
let's say
to
a monkey.
justify cutting their head off.
No, I don't
For
eat like any
well
meat and meat product.
the milk, yeah, for you personally you consume milk, which entails these things.
Salad?
Like my milk comes from the like cow, like close to us that the lady has, and she takes like decent enough care for her. And
What
I've
happened
been
to
having milk for there.
the male children, and what happens with her when she's spent?
I know like the kind of exploitative practices people
Yeah,
do
so
intake, but
you wouldn't be okay with the local lady chimpanzee, right? Doing those things, seemingly. You just have a local
I
lady.
will
She has
be.
a nice chimpanzee.
I
She takes her
no no
babies, cuts
no.
their heads off, and
S-
when the chimp lady's spent, eh,
It's
I
not
understand those.
a it's not a on and off issue with me, right? It's a issue of how much of a problem are you going to have with it, as compared to how much less of a issue you're going to have with it.
So the trait now is how much issue I personally take with something will ethically
No,
justify that
again,
thing.
we already went over the moral consideration gradient, right? So you for some things you have less moral consideration, for some things you have greater moral consideration, and it varies. What does it vary upon? What is causing that variness? Like for it to change, it is your ability to empathize with the said object of that suffering or the said object of that consideration or person of that consideration.
So maybe let's
Wherever
just like
you
move. Let's move down the hierarchy here. We'll go away from a bonobo or a chimpanzee. How about just like a Reese's monkey? Can we exploit and kill those? There's going to be like some animal line for you, right? Where you can just like cut their heads off, and then some where you can, or you cannot. Sorry, I might have had that backwards. Can I like cut off a Reese's monkey's head or like a spider monkey? Are those on the plate
It's
now?
a it's a pros and cons evaluation as such, right?
No, it's just
So,
like a
for
yes or no
example,
question, like Reese's monkey milk, yes or no.
again, it's not a hard line. That is what I'm saying. It depends on the. Uh, for all I care, if mosquitoes do not ever bite any human beings and they do not invade our spaces, I will make it so that you should never kill a single mosquito whatsoever. If, let's say, you can sustain off of simply breathing and you do not even have to cut grass or you do not even have to eat fruits, I will say stop doing that. Right, it's the consequences which prompt even vegans to eat plants, because again, it's not a hard boundary. Even there, it is a boundary of that this amount of sacrifice is fine for the like benefits that I'm getting from it.
Yeah, and in the hypothetical, the benefits were equalized. You have the same health outcomes. One of them, you have an unnecessary product called milk, and the other one, you have an unnecessary product called vegan milk. Both worlds are
So yeah,
equalized for health outcomes. And in the hypothetical, you can justify this cow over here being exploited and milked, but you can't justify the chimpanzee being exploited and milked. And the trait you seem to give was ability to empathize to a certain degree.
yes,
So I removed the trait ability to empathize to a certain degree in a future Apex, and you still took issue with it. So that
I
seemed
will
to
take
not,
it. The future apex won't.
yeah, that seemed to, yeah, you seem to have issue with that, that like someone's ability to empathize isn't the trait. Because like I can find people who don't empathize with chimpanzees, I can find people who don't empathize with humans, and you would take issue with
So
that.
no, no. In your example, you're taking three parties into consideration, right? Party A is the one who's going to kill the monkey, then there is the monkey, and then there is party B who's observing this entire event and giving their moral verdict, right? As in this particular scenario, we're assuming monkey to be an object. In that sense, the moral A person also have their
Salad?
ethics, the moral B person also have their ethics. So from the moral A person's point of view, they are going, if they are unempathetic, it is okay to kill the monkey. But if the moral B person is someone who does have empathy, they're going to look at that and they're going to say this is wrong. Ethics are dependent on self, right? You self your ethics are conferred to you. I mean, at least ethics are perceived by you from your own self, right? So it varies from person to person. That is why, at
Yeah,
least
so
functionally
yeah,
speaking.
so you agree that like there are intersecting traits here on this Venn diagram between the chimpanzee and the cow, and there are differential traits on the outsides here. And again, I'll just ask the question like, what traits can I remove from this chimpanzee to make it okay to exploit and milk them?
Let's give you a better example. Put in both the sides to be a cow. The only difference is the one cow is a random cow and another cow is a cow I have raised from birth and it's my pet. In
Oh,
that
I
situation,
put a
I'm going
cow.
to pick my pet, right? So what is causing the difference?
So the difference. So are you kind of getting at that? It's just like your own personal feelings towards a certain being can justify cutting their head off.
That's the basis of where ethics come from.
So like
See,
I don't know your mom, and I have no relationship
sure,
with her, but I don't think it's okay to cut her head off.
yes, you do not believe, but you can still, let's say, kill a mosquito.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that would be self defense, and that would be the overriding factor that I've already discussed before. Like if a human's trying to attack me and steal my blood, I think I'm justified in defending myself.
A mosquito is
So yeah,
barely
and
like causing you to
if your
itch,
mom was
but you're
if your
ending
mom
its
was
life.
attacking me and stealing, if your mom came to my house and tried to attack me and steal my blood, I'd like get a fucking baseball bat and be like, "Bitch, get out of here! What the fuck are you doing?" I
Yeah,
like swat at
because
her like I would swat at a mosquito. So the what
because
I'm getting
your
at here is
your
like,
moral, but you're definitely going to not do the same amount of damage to a human being, or let's say my mom in this example, that you're going to do to a mosquito. A mosquito is taking this amount of blood from you. You're going to itch for 2 minutes and it's going to go away. Yet you find it morally righteous, or at least morally permissible, to kill and end its life. But you are not going to have the same standards for a human being, even if you did not know that human being. If they came up with a small syringe and tried to take some blood from you, you're not going to slap them to death, right?
If it was a trait
You do
equalized
have that
human, yeah, if it was a trait equalized human with the mind of mosquito and they're gonna die in 2 weeks anyway, I would have no issue with like bashing their brains in. No.
I think that's not true. The moment you see a human, the moment you're able to
The
reflect that,
moment I
oh,
see a
this
deranged
can
human
be
coming
a
at me
human
with a
being,
syringe trying to steal my blood, yeah, I'm gonna hit them. I'm
you
gonna,
are going
I'm gonna, I'm gonna try to incapacitate them. Actually, I'm gonna like hit him in the fucking head with a
yeah,
baseball bat. Like, get the
you're
fuck out of
going
here
to
with your
hit
syringe.
them, you're going
Yeah,
to
of course.
incapacitate them, but you're not
I'll,
going
I'll hit him.
to
I'll use deadly
immediately.
force for sure. I'll hit him as hard as I can with a baseball bat. If they're coming at me with a
Okay,
syringe and they're like, they're coming at me. Yeah, for sure. And
when,
they're trait
but you're not.
equalized, and I know for sure that they have like the mind of a mosquito. Yeah, I'll bash their brains in. Fuck them.
No, I think if it's a human being, you are going to be more morally considerate, even if they had the same neurochemistry as a mosquito. The moment you see a human being, you are not going to immediately reach for the shotgun to blow their heads off. You will think of other ways, and only when you feel like there is no other way to prevent this than to kill them, only then you're going to kill them, right? Mosquito, you kill willy nilly.
I really hate to break this to you, but you're kind of engaging in mind reading on me right now. And if it was revealed to me beyond a reasonable doubt that they have the mind of a mosquito and they're coming at me with a syringe, I'll shoot them with a shotgun. I don't give a shit.
Okay, I'm not going to then make claims on you. My claim is simply that human beings have more of a consideration for human beings, simply for the outer fact that they can empathize with them, right? And if person A, a random person A, this thing happens to them, they are not immediately going to reach for the shotgun unless and until they know their life can be harmed in that great of capacity. If all they know is that human beings is going to randomly take some blood from them, which is going to be okay, they might hit them, they might incapacitate them, they might try and stop them, or just even use deadly force, but their immediate recourse is not going to be killing, which is something that they will immediately, without a singular thought, do to a human being.
Yeah, those are other people, and I don't really care about them. And it's just me and you talking. And then again, back to the question. We're talking about like self defense scenarios here. Back to the question, like we have a chimpanzee on one side and a cow on the other. What traits can I remove from this chimp to make it morally ethical or ethically justified to cut their head off?
I've answered this
Yeah. Is
question
it
like
is it just like the way
in
they look, or is it like an aesthetic thing? Because that's what it was sounding like before. Like you were like saying like the ability to anthropomorphize. Like if I have a chimpanzee with a deformed face, is it then ethically justified to cut their head off, or like what is the trait? What is true over here that if I remove it, I
this is
can? You know what I'm getting at?
the I get it, but this question is at the very least disingenuous. This is like asking someone, "Why are you gay?" Now let them answer that. It's a
Yeah,
question which is already
you would
loaded
say
with yes or
you would
no
say
answer,
because
right?
I
I
am
do not.
attracted to men.
I do not.
Yeah, you
I
would
do
say
not.
because when I see men, I get horny. That would be the answer to the question. I don't think it's disingenuous.
Yeah. If you're
I would
not
answer
gay,
it
then if
truthfully.
someone asks you that question, then it's yeah. But the point of that is this is a loaded question, and either way, the trade question does not qualify simply because of two reasons. Okay, this is how I understand this. Morality is a gradient. This is zero morality. This is 100 moral. Like moral consideration is a gradient. I will place my own child here. I will place, let's say, I don't know, a rock here. Rock is not alive. If I'm to place a being, maybe I'll place the mosquito here. My pet animal would be somewhere around here. A random monkey is going to be here. A random pig is going to be here. So what is causing this difference, right? Why am I a hypocrite when it comes to different forms of beings? I say because they are in different places across the spectrum, and my moral, the more they are towards the right end of it, the more moral consideration I'm going to give. Now I can believe that I can kill something at this point, I can kill something at this point, or I can kill something at this point. That is individual opinion, and that is highly dependent on where I see them exactly and what is that value to me, right? There was a very nice story that we had, which basically said that a king and his minister, the king claimed that a mother will never kill her child, she will always safeguard the life of her child, and the minister disagreed. So they put a monkey and her baby in the pool in which water was rising. The result was the mother, first she was trying to save the baby, but at the end of the day she stepped over the baby to save her own life. Why? Because moral consideration is dependent upon how much I am in here, and this final line is how similar something is to myself, because I can empathize with myself 110%. I cannot empathize with a rock at all, therefore it has less moral weightage, and my actions will be dependent on that. That is one thing, moral consideration. And the other axis that is the consequential axis, right? The mother killed her child, which was something that was this bad, right? Normally it shouldn't be the case, but why? Because something of this magnitude was at stake. Overall she was in a positive here, right? She gained through it. That is what you do when you gain through that action. For example, let's say I can kill a mosquito, and by doing that I can get rid of malaria for my own family, and I do a mosquito genocide across the world to do that, just for
I
my own
would too.
family, right? Everyone else can still suffer from it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'll
in
kill all the
that
mosquitoes
particular,
as well. Fuck them.
yeah. And the reason I do that is because I believe that that is gaining me a positive, what do you call,
Yeah,
experience or
yeah,
a
yeah.
positive
I
consequence.
Just
again, I don't disagree with any of
so
this, and
sorry, so sorry.
I get it.
I'm so sorry. I'm just going to cut in. Just to let you know, you've got 3 more minutes before it becomes an hour of opening. So if we just press for the next 3 minutes, and then I'll offer you
oh
both
sure,
2 minutes of
Can you just
closing. If
give me
you,
1 minute
yeah,
in
just
this?
carry, yeah.
Yeah, just
yeah. I just want to press on that for a second. So I don't disagree with
this
your
is
moral gradient there, and it looks like you give like
okay. Okay.
a cow value 4 and a monkey value 5 or something, and somewhere
Yeah,
between
just
4
like
and 5.
and
Yeah, just hypothetically, like somewhere between 4 and 5, it justifies cutting their head off
yeah, it justifies cutting their head off when you the
for
gain or
fun.
the net.
Like just to be clear, for an unnecessary product, the justification. And
It
when
is
you
it
reach
is
value
unnecessary.
5, it's no longer justified, and then for value 4, it's justified.
It's justified when in my perception something is of is gaining me more than it is losing the world, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I
so for you
believe that
personally,
me
yeah,
getting milk and my health is more important than a random cow's health. Then, if I have that belief, if that is how I view it, then in my ethical standard, I can allow the cow to, what do you call, be milked and be exploited. If I believe that her being milked and exploited is causing me consequences, or like netting me gain and me and other people gain, which is worthy of that cause, as long as my perception of that is that it is a positive thing for me, that is still consistent within this. The reason I said that the Venn diagram model does not particularly work is because it's not dependent on traits. It's not a consideration in any of this. Hell, I can value my pet over another human being even though the traits are different, right? That means traits, either there is no such trait, or that axis itself is wrong. That is not the way that you view this problem. You view this problem by understanding what are ethics, what are they informed by, and where do they originate in. The moment you clear that, then you can do that. I don't think ethics are dependent on traits at all. Therefore, that is the
oh,
wrong
whoops.
dimension for it to be considered.
Yeah, so if it is shown to you then, beyond a reasonable doubt, you Apex, that you can be healthy, happy as a vegan, and not
Mhm.
exploit cows, and it doesn't give you any appreciable gain to your health, would you then view it as
Hmm.
immoral to exploit cows?
Yes.
Okay, so it looks like you need an empirical debate then, that it is shown to you that you can be healthy, happy as a vegan without the need for cow's milk. And that's
Yeah,
probably
and I
a
think
future debate. We can, but yeah, it sounds like you
sure.
agree that if it is shown to you beyond a reasonable doubt that you can be healthy, happy as a vegan without exploiting cows for their milk, then it sounds like
Hmm.
you agree that that's an unnecessary thing, right?
Exactly. I'm even going to say that anti-veganism or non-veganism only exists so far as there is a gap between whatever veganism can fulfill for the people and whatever non-veganism is still like there. If people can have steak houses, if people can have the almost the same experiences. Imagine, let's say, an AI robot cow with like vegan meat packets all over that people can have the experience of shooting, hunting, and all of that. No one at the end of the day is, except for the boomers, is going to complain that it is not like something that we lack, as long as there is no difference whatsoever. So people don't do it. People just have a weird sense of the scale, right? A weird understanding of the scale. Some people value their taste over, let's say, the life of a certain animal. That is the contention here.
And it sounds like you just agreed that if it is proven to you empirically, for you, Apex, that you don't need to exploit cows for their milk, you'll go vegan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although,
Yeah,
although, although,
let's set that up for the next
just
debate.
one caveat.
Yeah,
Just
go
one
ahead.
caveat. I personally would, as long as I'm like not following the current religious path. So, as a person, I will, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah,
There are
yeah. I
certain
think
religious things.
so. I'm semi well versed in the empirics, but I think there would be a better debate opponents for like the empirical analysis for vegan health. We can probably set that up for the next one. And sounds like Elle didn't really need to step in as a moderator. It was a very kindly debate and discussion, so we didn't get too heated here. So
Yeah, no, you made my job today very easy. So I guess it's been an hour, so we can have, if you would like, 2-minute closing statements each, and then we can move on to Q&A. Not many people have put in questions yet, but just to tell everyone, you can put a question in now, and I'll say it as long as it's not mean to either of the guests. Otherwise, I'm not reading it out. Would you like to do closings? And if so, is there anyone who would have a preference at going first or last?
well, I guess since Apex went first last time, I can just close out here.
Yeah.
And I will just, my closing statement will be as follows. The vegan position comes from understanding the reasons for why it's immoral to exploit and kill sentient beings when it's not necessary. When we consider why it's not okay to exploit and kill humans, it is reduced to the following. Humans are capable of experiencing the life around them and prefer to live. They can feel pain, fear, joy, and other emotions that make us not want to experience the negative feelings. Those experiences are part of what it means to be sentient. Humans and animals are different in many ways, but we have some things in common, including sentience. This means that for the same reason it's immoral to exploit and kill humans in the context of lack of necessity, it's also immoral to exploit and kill animals in the same context. The exploitation and killing of animals is not necessary in the 21st century, where we are used to the products that result from exploitation and slaughter of animals, but we have alternatives to all of those or most of those products. This means it is immoral to exploit and slaughter animals in the 21st century. And that's my closing.
Okay, lovely. And for you, Apex?
Okay. So, as so far as we discussed the vegan debate, the conclusion that I came up with and the conclusion that we had is that morality is a gradient, and it depends on how proximal something A depends on how proximal it is to my own self, and B, how, what are the amounts of consequence, the products I can get from committing an act of non-moral standard. And as such, the goal here should be to stop the differences between, or at least reduce the differences over time between veganism and non-veganism, to the point that it becomes indistinguishable, that everyone in the world can be vegan and they can still enjoy and have the same life that they do currently, just without the cruelty or the deaths.
Okay, all done? Okay, all done?
That's all.
Okay, excellent. So we'll move on to the Q&A. Thank you for both being chill here. So Chip, thank you so much for supporting the channel. The question is not about what the difference is, but what is the difference that justifies the exploitation and slaughter for optional products? So, would either of you like to interact with that?
Well, yeah, I'm the vegan, so I don't have a justification, so I don't do it.
Okay. So optional products, are they as long as those optional products are truly indistinguishable and there is some not a significant difference between the two of them, then of course it should be cruelty free, it should be death free. But if there is a considerable difference, whether it is in nutrition, whether it is in religious practice, whether it is in okay, those two things, or some other cultural differences, then it's a topic of debate. Yeah, that's all.
Anything further to say on that? If not, I'll move on to the next. I'm going to assume not. So the other question is from Chip. Again, thank you so much for your support. Does Apex know the difference between affective empathy and cognitive empathy?
No, you can enlighten me on that.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Joe, do you remember the distinction? Chip, if you want to
Affective
add
empathy.
it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, effective empathy is the ability to feel or share another person's emotions, often resulting in a personal emotional response. And then cognitive empathy is the ability to understand another person's emotions and perspectives, enabling a person to construct a model of their emotions and states without necessarily feeling the same emotion themselves.
Okay, I think I've experienced cognitive
Got it, got
empathy, but not the other.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, understood.
Yeah.
So therefore, would you like either of you like to explore what that would then entail for the relevance of the discussion, or?
I mean, I think either way it works. I mean, is if there is like a logical inconsistency in what I said on the basis of, let's say, taking cognitive empathy into consideration rather than effective empathy, I can be let known of that. I don't think there is.
Yeah, I think what he's getting at there, Chip's question, is that the cognitive empathy, you have to kind of like imagine a state that you don't have, where the effective empathy is more like the human to human that you were getting at. And
So wouldn't
yeah.
cognitive empathy just count as sympathy?
No,
What's the
kind of what it's getting at there is trying to imagine the mind that is not yours, like the mind of a dog or the mind of a cow, and then
Right,
trying
right, right,
to
right.
get empathy from that. And I think I also agree with Elle. I have cognitive empathy because I try to like put myself into the mind state of like the 2-year-old child I gave, because I have kids myself, or like the elderly person. Like I wouldn't want to be exploited, I wouldn't want to be abused, and you can like have this imaginary brain state of what it's like to be that other being, and then how would you want to be treated.
Right. Oh,
Yeah, if I can interject, I do think I maybe experienced both, because say if someone like hurts themselves, even if I don't necessarily have that body part, I kind of feel it. I'm like, oh my God. Like, so I guess then I'm doing that, but generally when I'm trying
Are
to...
you getting in? Are you getting into the case of like a male body part?
Yeah,
that you
like
don't
I'll be
have?
if someone has like chopped their penis off, I'm like, oh my God, I don't have a penis, so yeah.
Well, that would be the cognitive empathy, right? Because you don't have a penis, but you can imagine what it
Guess,
might be
yeah,
like to have your
still,
penis cut
yeah.
off.
I don't
Yeah.
think I'm generally, which is ironic, I don't think I'm generally empathetic in the real feeling sense. So yeah.
but if she feels it immediately without having to construct that scenario in her head, is that still not like something akin to effective
But then
empathy?
how can I feel it if I don't possess it? Like, am I
I mean,
actually...
if it's an immediate response, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah,
it
it is
happened. It's not like in the
visceral.
split second you are like imagining everything.
I guess
Yeah,
it's,
it's
you
visceral.
know,
It's
you know
like
when someone's
felt.
an amputee and they have a phantom feeling of their arm, like they are feeling it, right? But yeah, I guess that's...
Yeah, I guess I could also make another comparison is like I don't have breasts and I can't milk, but I witnessed my wife. She would breastfeed and then she would also breast pump. And there was one time when she got mastitis and like blood was just coming into the bottles. And I like imagined what that must feel like. It was a horrible pain. She had to get antibiotics, and I don't have breasts and I'll never be able to milk myself out of my chest. But yeah, I empathized heavily, but I'll never be able to feel what that feels like.
It's weird, honestly. Have you guys ever like looked at random objects and you already know how the texture is going to feel on your tongue and what the taste is going to be, even though you've never interacted with it any other like in that particular sort of way? It's like power of imagination is insane.
Okay, so what we'll do, we've got a few more questions, so we'll kind of speed run them. Thank you, Dave, for supporting. Didn't say anything though. So Chip said, several humans put their pets above other
Yes.
humans. So I guess how would you both interact with that if we're taking the case that we value them based on anthropomorphism?
Anthropomorphism and like more so proximity to self, right? Because you have had that pet as a like throughout your life, you imagine them as part of your family. So something which is part of your family is again something you're able to empathize with more, let's say, than a random human being. But it's always a tough decision. uh, like people say that obviously I'm going to save my pet, but if put in that real situation, it is always a very like coin flippy decision what you're going to do. And it's because again it's a literal human being versus something that you have a relation with, you have a proximity with, you have a shared understanding of self with, but it is not technically a human being.
Yeah, I would just interact with that question because the vegan question is it ethically justifiable to, exploit and kill and use one of those beings? And the pet and the human, I would say there is no ethically justifiable difference to exploit and kill one of them for a needless product.
Okay, excellent. So
Yes. I
the
mean,
next
yeah.
question from VPM for Apex, what's the amount of change you would not accept for yourself and for others to spare the cow exploitation and slaughter?
Hmm. Would not expect change, right? So if you've heard of the uncanny valley problem, in which something is almost human but it is not exactly human, uh, so it's sort of like that when it's mostly indistinguishable. For example, the people in my colony who go and like let's say get milk of certain companies, like packets of milk, they still buy cow milk. And on the other hand, people who live in societies nearby, they mm, uh, buy milk from the particular nice store, and that has almond milk listed with normal milk, and they sometimes pick almond milk, they sometimes pick normal milk because it's more or less not a very different decision whatsoever. So once that is very close to each other to the point that it is not causing active thought within people that I'm doing this particular thing, I think that will be enough for society to change.
Anything from you, Joe? Oh, I guess it wasn't addressed to you, but
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. It doesn't. I'm not applicable because I don't. Yeah,
Yeah, okay, cool. I was asked to ask you why do humans have intrinsic value, but I don't know like your stances on this, and I suppose they are trying to ask then why would it then extend to non-human animals? But I'm not. If you don't believe that's relevant, then
yeah. I
yeah.
think that just goes back to NTT again, and we just went over that for an hour. So
Yeah. Perspective philosophy. Thank you so much for tipping. He says, do you agree that our concept of self is developed by social recognition? If so, how can we reduce our goods to our subjectivity when our subjectivity is an internalized object?
Is this a Hegel question?
Probably it's from
How the
perspective.
concept of self is evolved?
Yeah, it's from perspective philosophy, so it's
Yeah.
probably a Hegel question. Yeah.
I don't want to off the riff answer a Hegel question because if I get it wrong, my audience is going to eat me alive.
You
Uh,
probably do. You like Hegel? Then you should probably talk to PP. Perspective
yeah, for
philosophy.
sure. Like people. get onto my channel, like view a few videos, give angry paragraph length comments on why I'm wrong, and like we can have a debate then.
Okay.
But to just
I was just
yeah.
going to say, Apex is linked in the description, Perspective Philosophy, if you would like to interact with him. But yeah, thank you so much for the tip. And then I guess we're on to the next one. You can tip to skip ahead if you'd like. That chip guy asks again, does Apex want to live in a world where morals are derived from affective empathy or from cognitive empathy? So that goes on to the question asked prior.
Oh. I I mean, if I can choose, I would choose a world in which there are a certain set of moral rules, a deontological concept, right? XYZ thing is definitely wrong. XYZ thing is definitely right. Follow these clear concepts, right? But we unfortunately live in a world where things are messy and subjective, and human beings have different opinions, and ethics are formed through societies, but then tried and standardized by philosophers. Some fail, some agree, and at the end of the day, we're stuck with the thing that everyone has their own opinion. And the only way to bring in any real change is to give people the illusion that there has been no change.
Joe, did you want to say anything?
No.
Based. Okay. Final question so far, unless other people have more. I think. Oh, it was PP already. It was. You did yourself out of a quid because I was already going on to that question. So yeah, I guess that is then all of the questions. That finalizes the debate. Thank you to Joe, and thank. Oh, is that Chase? No, I think I should stop it here. I'm so sorry. But I'll carry on streaming. But for you two, thank you so much for having this debate. And yeah, if you want to do any more and come together, I could possibly moderate it. I think I've been non-partisan today.
Yeah, I think a future empirical debate on vegan health, if it could be shown to you that you can be healthful and happy as a vegan. It sounds like you're open to it. And there's going to be more empirically minded people with data who are better for that debate. So yeah, we could probably set that up in the future, and Elle would be another good moderator for that.
Works.
Okay, well, thank you to you two, and we'll end it here if you just want to leave at your own leisure. And I think I'll just stay live for a little bit. If there's anyone in the chat who wants to debate, now's your chance. But thank you, Apex, and thank you, Joe.